All right, in this video, I'm going to be comparing the cost of renting versus owning a home in the current interest rate rental environment over the next 5 years as a Canadian. I'm That Agent Kelly. This channel is all things Canadian real estate in my local market of Abbotsford in the Fraser Valley. And if you guys want to chat with me about buying or selling in my local market, I have a Calendly link in my description. You can click on that and book yourself into my calendar. So for this video, I'm going to be using all averages, right? Now, each market is going to be different, and each person located in each market and what they're doing is going to be different from each person. So this isn't going to be completely accurate, but just for fun and entertainment, let's do this based completely on averages and see what happens. So the average Canadian home right now is $704,000. The average rent is about $2,100 a month, and I will be using an interest rate of 6.5%. So let's get started with the cost of owning over the next 5 years. So with a 6.5% interest rate at a 30-year term and 20% down, your mortgage will be $3,528 a month. Now, property tax is going to be different in every single city across Canada. Here, I know, for a $700,000 home, your property tax is going to be about $2,800 a month, maybe low 3,000s. But parts of New Brunswick, it might be, way higher. So for this video, I'm going to be using 1% of the purchase price, meaning your property tax is $7,000 a year. And if we bring that down into a monthly cost, it's $583 a month. Insurance is apparently on average across Canada, $1,000 a year. So I'm going to lean towards the rental side on this and give renters the benefit of the doubt and make it $1,300 a year, meaning it costs you $110 a month for insurance. Now, when you own a home, it comes with the responsibility of maintaining that home. And they typically say, budget anywhere for around 1% of the total purchase price of the home or the value, whatever it is, for annual cost to maintain that home, meaning $7,000 a year, divided by 12, and you get $583 a month. Now, because we have to put 20% down on this property, which is $140,000, if you were renting instead, you could take that $140,000 and invest it somewhere else, meaning we have to factor in opportunity costs, the money you are losing by keeping that $140,000 tied up into the property. And for this scenario, I'm going to assume that the person renting does the easy, almost guaranteed thing and just invests it into the S&P 500 index at a historical average return of 10% year over year, meaning after 5 years, that 140 grand will be worth 226,000, which is a $126,000 profit. Divide that by 5, then divide it by 12, and it will cost you $1,433 per month to have that money locked up in the property. After owning this home for 5 years, you will have paid down $36,000 of your mortgage balance. As you guys know, some of the monthly payment that you're paying goes towards interest and some of it goes towards the mortgage balance. After 5 years, you pay down $36,000, divide it by 5, then divide it by 12, and you gain $600 a month by owning this property. Now, Canada's real estate market apparently appreciates 7% year over year, historical average. However, it costs all the costs to own the property go up as well. So let's say all of those costs beat inflation, which is 2% over the last whatever, right? Let's say the cost to own property goes up 3%. Let's cancel out 3% of that appreciation. And let's say you net 4% appreciation year over year by owning this property, which means this property will be worth $856,000 after 5 years. You divide your initial investment of $704,000. You've made $152K. Divide that $152K by 5, then divide it by 12, and you make $2,533 a month to own this property. Now, if you want to sell this property in 5 years to actually access the profit that you've made, you will have to hire a realtor, most likely. I mean, you don't have to do anything, but let's say you do. Average realtor commissions are 3%. So on average, this comes out to about $428 a month when you do the whole divide thing. And although there are a lot of places in Canada that are not BC, we're going to use BC's property tax, which is the purchase price times 2% minus 2,000, which means it costs you $12,000 to buy this property just in tax. And then we're going to add $2,000 for lawyer fees, $1,000 when you buy, $1,000 when you sell. Take that 14 grand, divide by 5, then divide by 12, costs you $233 a month to own this property. And then I'm going to add in a cost to break your mortgage, which you may not have to, but let's say you do, and let's say at some point you went variable. It would cost you 3 months interest. I'm just doing variable because it's the easiest to calculate. 3 months of interest, which is $9,000 over 5 years, divide by 12, then 5. It costs you $150 a month to break your mortgage owning this property. Meaning, The total cost of ownership is $3,912 a month when you average it out over the 5-year term. Now let's look at the rental side. Rent is $2,117 a month. However, you're making $1,433 a month for your investment in the S&P 500 index, but you're losing $2,533 from the appreciation you did not make, and you're missing out on $600 a month from the mortgage paydown that the owner of the property would have. And you have no other expenses in direct relation to the property because the owner is paying the rest of them, for a total cost of $3,817 a month to rent this property over 5 years. So in this scenario, it is slightly cheaper to rent this property over 5 years than it is to buy the property. However, I do believe that I've favored the numbers quite heavily towards renters, or at least possibly towards renters. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen, but basically what I did here is like a $700,000 home in my market of Abbotsford, BC would probably rent anywhere from like $2,800 a month to $3,400 a month instead of that $2,100 a month. However, you would have a strata fee because you're likely buying a townhome, and that strata fee would likely cost $350 to $400 a month, but you're still net paying anywhere from like $300 to $700 more in rent if we were talking about my market. Another thing is property tax is much lower here. You know, like I was saying, maybe $2,800 for the year as opposed to $7,000. And I also kept the interest rate at 6.5% for that entire 5 years, when I personally believe it will be lower at some point, probably in the next 2. And I've also kept rental rates at the exact same of the day when the renter rented that property and did not increase it at all, despite the fact that rental rates are soaring right now. However, on the ownership side, we are making some assumptions, like the property value increasing 7% every single year, which absolutely does not have to happen over the next 5 years, and there's always a possibility the property value could actually be lower in 5 years. So my overall thoughts on the scenario: I think it's definitely cheaper to rent right now in the current environment we're in, and especially if you're going to rent for only 1 or 2 years. However, once we start getting into 3, 4, 5 years, although on paper, yes, it's cheaper, I think it starts getting a lot more risky. Because as I said, rental rates are going up extremely fast right now, and all it takes is for your landlord to sell the property, and then you've got to go find a new one, and then it costs money to move, to go find a new place and pay the new rent, whatever it might be. And like I said, I do think that interest rates could be lower, maybe not substantially, but at least lower in the next year or two. So although I do believe that it is definitely cheaper to rent right now, I think long-term renting is a risky game, and I would say right around that, 5-year mark is where we start talking, super long-term, right? So be careful out there. If you need to rent for a year, I would say that's the clear winner right now. Who knows what's going to happen in the real estate market, but that's at least what it looks like based on the numbers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm That Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.